When I was a kid, obsession wasn't a good enough word to describe how I felt about the supernatural. It consumed my early teenage years. I would scare myself and stay up all night watching YouTube videos, reading stories, like even watching Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel. I went on ghost hunts throughout my house, looking for anything out of the ordinary. There had to be something out there. They've been telling ghost stories as long as they could read and write, probably before that. The world couldn't be that boring. I knew it couldn't. Sometimes, I found nothing. In fact, most nights, I found nothing. But, funny enough, as the old saying goes, when you go looking for trouble, more likely than not, trouble finds you. There are things that make you question reality. Things that make you wish you could unsee them. There's more to this world than we are told. I know it. You must have to feel it to know what I'm talking about. My name is Dylan Bowman, and this is my horror channel, BSM Horror, a collection of some of the most bone-chilling stories that I've heard or personally experienced. And this is the very first episode. So, if you like what you heard, or were truly disturbed by it, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notifications bell for a notification every single time we upload another story. This is Season 1, Episode 1, the first story named The Mirror Man. This story is based on a chilling, true encounter in a quiet Texas town in the late 1990s. Let's go there now. Derek, our main character, just bought a rundown 2-story house built in the 1930s, planning to flip it. He moved in temporarily to save on costs. The house had been abandoned for years, and aside from the usual creaks and drafts, nothing seemed too unusual, except for one thing: a mirror nailed to the wall at the end of the upstairs hallway. It wasn't like the others in the house. The frame was warped, made of black wood. The glass wasn't even clean and shiny. It had a slight haze to it, like it was always fogged up. Derek tried to remove it, but when he pried at the nails, he swore he heard a soft knock from behind it. Not from the hallway, but from inside the wall. He dropped his hammer, left it alone. About a week into living there, he started noticing something strange. He'd walk past the mirror, and just for a flash, he'd see himself, but turned around. Back facing the mirror, like his reflection had moved after he did, but didn't quite turn around fast enough. Then, as they always do, things escalated. Late one night, Derek was brushing his teeth. In the mirror above the sink, he saw movement behind him. He turned. Nothing there. But when he looked back in the mirror, his reflection was still looking backward, not at him, into the hallway. He ran out of the bathroom. He started sleeping downstairs on the couch because of this. But around 3 a.m. each night, he'd wake up freezing cold, even in the middle of the summer. And always, he'd find the upstairs hallway light on, even though he knew he had turned it off. Once, he even left the breaker flipped. The next night, voila, the light was on. Eventually, Derek decided it's time to seal off upstairs, and that's what he did. Nailed the board across the stairway and stayed out for good. But the knocking didn't stop. Now, it came from behind every mirror in the house. First, just the hallway, then the bathroom, then a hand mirror he kept in the kitchen drawer. He threw that one in the trash. One night, he heard heavy footsteps upstairs, deliberate, pacing back and forth. He called the police. They found no one. But an officer asked him, half joking, Why'd you hang a mirror facing that one in the hallway? He didn't. He went upstairs after they left. The second mirror was now facing the original, as if someone had found it and wanted to reflect something back. He moved out that night. To this day, the house sits abandoned again. The mirrors are still there. No one has been able to remove them. Every time someone tries, they hear immense knocking. Some say it's rats. Some say it's air pressure. But Derek, he believes it's something else. He said, before he left, he looked once more into the hallway mirror, and for the first time, his reflection smiled back at him. But he never smiled. That was a short story, but I feel like it was decent. Nice story to get you warmed up for our main event. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the main event of the evening, titled Not for Rent. Tonight's true story comes from a Reddit user named u/thegremus333, who shared a chilling experience about the time they rented a house built in the 1870s. Let's just say they didn't stay long. Tonight's story takes us up north to a small town in Montana, just a few hours away from the Canadian border. The author and a few friends were in their early 20s. They rented this large, weathered home built in the 1870s. The rent was low, space was huge, and the place oozed old, worldy character. High ceilings, crown molding, antique fixtures, even a grand staircase that split halfway up into two separate wings. Beautiful. It was the kind of house you'd expect to find in a movie, and unfortunately, it played out just like one. At first, things felt normal. Occasional draft, it's an old house. Usual creaks of an old home setting at night. But then came the footsteps. The kids started hearing movement upstairs when everyone was downstairs, and they'd hear it again, downstairs, when everyone was sleeping upstairs. Heavy, deliberate footsteps, not the kind that come from the house shifting. These sounded purposeful, like someone pacing or patrolling. At first, the roommates joked. They blamed it on mice, or maybe a neighbor, or maybe the house was just noisy. But then, the shadow figures began to appear. One night, one of the roommates, a skeptical girl who never believed in ghosts, go figure, came out of her room looking pale, shaken. She said, "I couldn't sleep. There was a man standing in the hallway, just standing. He was tall, dark, and I couldn't see his face, but I felt him watching me. I know that he was watching me. The worst part? The hallway she saw him in didn't have any windows, just walls, a few family photos, and bedrooms. No place for shadows to fall naturally. They tried to ignore it. They kept telling themselves it was stress, maybe an overactive imagination, fears and rationales from an old house. But every night, something new would happen. Doors would creak open, slowly, even after being locked. Objects would go missing and then reappear in strange places. The dog would growl at corners where nothing could be seen. But it was the attic that held the darkest energy. The attic had been converted into bedrooms, and two roommates slept up there. The stairwell up to that level didn't have a door. It was just an open archway, and yet at night, they all knew they'd hear a loud slam, like a door had been thrown shut at the top of the stairs. No door existed, but the sound repeated, over again, on different nights, as if the house was pretending it had a door there. Eventually, she decided to do some investigating. While moving a piece of furniture in one of the attic rooms, she noticed a loose floorboard. Curious, she pried it up, and what she found gave her chills. It was an old, yellowed newspaper clipping from 1890. The headline, "Local Man Hanged After Family Slaughtered in Home." The article described a brutal murder. A man had killed his wife and children in that very house they lived in, right around where the attic rooms now stood. He'd been tried, convicted, and hanged just outside of town. The entire energy of the house changed after they found that article. The shadow figures became more frequent, the footsteps louder, and the air, always freezing cold in the attic, felt heavier, like something was watching them closely now. One roommate claimed she woke up unable to breathe, the pressure on her chest as if someone had climbed on top of her while she slept. Another swore she saw the shadow figure at the foot of her bed. It just stood there, unmoving, until she screamed, turned the light on, and then it was gone. But the final straw, the basement door. It had always been a little strange, old and heavy, with rusted hinges. No one ever went down there, not unless they had to reset the breaker or check a pipe. But one night, it slammed shut by itself. Not with a creak, not with a slow gust of wind. I'm talking slam, as if someone had forced it shut from the inside. They all heard it, and after that, none of them went back down there. And not long after, they broke the lease and left. The landlord didn't even ask why. Some say the house is still there, still standing, still holding whatever memory or entity refuses to leave it behind. And the strangest part, the author says that after they moved out, strange things followed them for months. Nightmares, shadowy corners, that same feeling of being watched. Maybe something came with them. Maybe it just never said goodbye. Once again, that true story was shared by Reddit user u/Sagremus333. And if you've got a haunting story of your own, please send it in. Link is in my bio, because chances are someone else has felt the same thing that you felt. You're listening to BSM Horror. Don't forget to check the attic before you sleep. I'll see you guys in the next one.